So I recently started making sim racing YouTube videos, and it's safe to say they're going pretty well. So well, in fact, that a company has decided to send me their direct drive wheel. This is the Cammus DDWB, Cammus Direct Drive Wheelbase. And who's Cammus, you ask? Well, when Cammus sent me the wheel initially, I didn't really know who they were at all. But it turns out they're intensely successful in the Chinese market, and they want to get a piece of that Western pie. And they're so desperate for it, they sent me a wheel to review. So without further ado, let's find out some more. Cammus are a company based in China who are known for making automotive electric parts for tuning. They make electric go-karts, and they also made an electric supercar. So the natural jump obviously is to make sim racing parts. And for a disclaimer, they sent me this wheel, but they didn't say what I could or couldn't say. So everything you hear today is completely my opinion. Now we've got the wheel bolted to my next level GT track. Let's talk about the first impressions of this wheelbase and this wheel. Now, I think the actual base itself looks pretty good. It's quite a chunky unit. This is not a small device, so you need space, and it mounts to the rig really nicely. It's finished in this black metal appearance. It's got these camera stickers down the side, and he's got these grooves that are both for mounting and a bit of a heatsink. This does have a fan in the back for when it starts getting hot. I've played it for over 2 hours and I haven't heard it initiate, and it hasn't overheated, so that's only a good thing. Now the good thing about this wheel is that it's got some buttons on the wheelbase, which is usually just a dead space for most of the other wheelbases on the market. I think this is the only one that I know of that has got buttons, rotary encoders and toggle switches on the actual base itself. The actual buttons, when you press them, light up, which is a nice touch, and the toggle switches have got a good feedback on them. Now, I guess these will probably be useful when you're stopped, because actually when you're driving around, trying to get your hand through to touch the buttons feels a bit sketchy, a bit risky. Now the actual wheel itself looks pretty cool. We've got a carbon fiber base plate with some metal finish around the edges. We've got 4 buttons, 2 rotary encoders and 2 toggle switches. The actual wheel itself is finished in what feels like authentic leather. I'm not really sure if it definitely is leather, but it feels pretty good. And the stitching around the outside is pretty awesome, with a 12 o'clock yellow marker, which is useful when you don't know where your wheel is. You know immediately which way is up and which way is down. The paddle shifters are finished in carbon fiber. It's like a one-piece carbon fiber item, and they're pretty cool, apart from the fact that they're quite clicky, which it's a pleasing feel, but I'm not sure about that sound. It's quite loud at travels. If you've got kids or a spouse or friends that you live with, this might get annoying. So I think you should probably include some sound deadening just to get rid of that. But the magnetic shifters feel pretty good. Overall, I think this wheel looks pretty good. I think it's pretty stylish. Obviously, it's not going to win any realistic points because it's just a generic looking wheel. The other good thing about this is the quick release system is much better than Fanatec's, in my opinion, at least the QR Lite, which drove me mad with my Fanatec CSL DD. I think this one's a lot better. You just pull it and you pull the wheel off and then just plonk it back on. No problems, no questions asked. Right then, now that we've talked about this wheel, I think it's worth going for a drive and telling you guys what I think about the driving dynamics on this Cammus DDWB wheel. And before we get too excited and drive away, got to tell you about Cammus's own proprietary software. It's pretty good. You can change all your settings in here. It also shows what games you've got installed, and you can have separate settings for different games, which I think is pretty nifty. The other thing is that they've got an app which you can use to change your settings on the fly, so you don't actually have to come out of your game if you want to change a few things, which is awesome. Right then, let's kick off the fun in the Pagani Zonda R in Assetto Corsa. Now the first thing that I noticed about this wheel is that the actual wheel itself feels really comfortable in the hand to drive around with. It's really quite nice material and actually feels more premium than it looks at first sight. Now the paddle shifters, as you can hear, are very clicky, but they have a good feedback, they have a good feel, they're positive, and they get the job done. I'm actually super impressed in this game, and the feedback felt really good out of the box. I've tweaked it myself a little bit just to my own taste, but you'll have no problems feeling what the car is doing round the circuit in Assetto Corsa. I can feel everything from oversteer to understeer and the weight transfer. Now being able to detect understeer and oversteer is like the very basic thing a force feedback wheel should do, but the important thing about immersion and realism is feeling the nuanced textures that the tyres are going under. And I do believe that this wheel does that pretty well. You can feel the difference between different kinds of curbs and the difference between gravel and grass. Not that I spend much time in the grass, of course, but these are important things to feel. I tested this wheel with many other cars on different circuits, and it's safe to say the quality of feedback overall is very good, but not everyone wants to drive on a circuit. Some people like to drift. Now, I'm no pro drifter by any stretch of the imagination, although I have done a bit of skid pan training in real life, but this feels really good in the hand. The wheels are really good size for drifting, in my opinion. You can really get that wheel spinning and catch it in a slide. The force feedback is good for it. It's quick to respond. It gives you all the right information so you can hold a slide, balance the drift, and then catch it on the other side. I really enjoyed using this wheel for drifting in Assetto Corsa, and yes, I'm not the best. I made a mistake there, but it's all part of the fun. But I definitely need to get a handbrake. But ultimately, I had no problems being able to control a car in a slide, being an absolute drifting noob. So if you're really into your drifting, I'd probably give this wheel a go, because I think you might actually have a good time with it. I did also test this wheel in Assetto Corsa Competition and didn't report to have any problems. The settings were a little bit harder to tweak from the get-go, but eventually I found settings that suited my driving style. To conclude, new wheels will always be compared to what has come before them and what are seen as the mainstream choices. The internet will give you mixed reviews about the Cammus wheel, and I suspect how much you like it will be based on a variety of factors, probably most important being money. This is technically a mid-range direct wheel that is going for entry-level direct drive money. For the base, you'll pay $500, another $200 for the wheel, and another $299 for the pedals. But importantly, you don't need to use Cammus's wheel or pedals, meaning you're not stuck in that ecosystem. For some, this price may be too much from a new manufacturer, and for others, this might be perfect. My own opinion is that this wheel works pretty well, and after using it for a while, I'm preferring to use it over my Fanatec CSL DD, which for now is quite telling. The combination of a bit more power, some smoothness, and no clunking from the QR Lite makes this wheel a winner in my eyes. It may not be for everyone's taste, but I actually think it's pretty good.